Most people do not understand how important it is to have a secure network at home. Most believe that their current Wi Fi security password or the router that they have with the basic protection that it comes with is enough. They don't realize that criminals will try to exploit their poor Wi Fi security and steal their information. I, for one, have experienced that, and it was not a pleasant feeling. I've had my identity taken, and I've also had someone go in and steal from my bank account. It's a really humbling feeling to realize that someone has went in there and took what you worked so hard for. People don't realize that Wi-Fi networks are easy access and make them vulnerable for attacking and hacking. And a lot of the Wi-Fi security that they have at home leaves their information unprotected. Now, each Wi-Fi router comes with their own basic encryption keys or ways to encrypt the information. There's the WEP, which was first used in the beginning when they came up with the wireless routers. It only had a 40-bit encryption key, which it made it vulnerable for hackers to get into it. So most companies started developing the WPA and the WPA2. Now the WPA was a little bit stiffer than the WEP, but it still had its own flaws and made it vulnerable and easy for hackers to get into. So they came up with the WPA2, which is the standard now used by the 802 routers that we use. It has a 64 hexadecimal key, which it makes it, I would say, harder than normal for someone to steal your information. The encryption is not as easy. So it kind of just slows down the attack from the hackers. Now each router has an SSID, and there's also some security protocols that you need to be aware of that you should use, and it would make it harder. The SSID is your service set identifier. That's the primary name that is used in your area WAN line, and that's what you use to connect to devices and join the web. On home Wi-Fi networks, a broadband router or modem stores the SSID, but allows administrators to change it. Routers can broadcast that name to help the wireless client find their network, and you must protect that SSID. And by one way of doing that is making your passwords harder. People are not aware that if you don't take your time and make a password difficult and not make it your last name one, it makes the hackers less likely to go into your network. The longer it takes for them to hack into your system, the less likely it is for you to be hacked. They look for people that just doesn't use the capital letter, doesn't use a symbol or a number. The best way to do is sometimes it's capitalize the first or maybe the second, and then use a symbol, and then use a number, and then go back to letters, because that's one thing it's hard for a hacker to do, is to figure out someone's password. Then people need to be aware that their router is also vulnerable. If you're not careful, anybody can go into your router and steal all your passwords. You have to have, sometimes it's good to download stuff to help you to keep it protected, such as antiviruses, protection programs. They have a lot of individual programs that kind of protect. Another step that you can do is turn on your HTTPS on your router. It always logs you out when you do that. Use the browser incognito, private mode. That way your cookies are not left behind for someone to get into. And always make sure that you update your router. A lot of times the router has firmware update that has more security, and that you need to be aware that you need that in your router or else it becomes ineffective. If you follow all these steps and be aware and always stay on top of your security, you will be fine. But if you're not careful, you can end up like me one time and have your information stolen, or even worse, have money stolen.